All right, let's do another advanced driving lesson while I'm driving down to Southampton. I've got 1 hour and 19 minutes to go, 62 miles. How does it take 1 hour and 19 minutes to do 62 miles? It is rush hour, although you can't call it rush hour anymore. They're called the peaks. National Highways calling them peaks. But someone's reported fog on Waze. I use Waze for navigation, and I've just had a thing flash up for fog. Now, I want to talk about fog because a lot of people, when it comes to winter time, even autumn, when the clocks go, is it back? Yeah, clocks go back an hour, isn't it? That's when most people put their fog lights on. They keep them on all the winter. I think they just think they're winter lights. They're not, they're fog lights. And the difference between fog and mist is at 100 metres. So if you can see more than 100 metres, it's mist. If it's less than 100 metres, it's fog. So that's when you need your fog lights on. Well, you don't actually need your fog lights on. You can put them on, don't need them on. Because a lot of people think that when you've got fog lights on, you can see further, the lights show further, but they don't actually. If you look, when you've got your fog lights on, analyse it, you'll have a little pool of light in front of the car and to the sides of the car that are illuminated more. But the real purpose of fog lights is for you to be seen, not for you to see. So when you've got dense fog, and I've driven in fog when it's been like 20 metre visibility, it means you can be seen that little bit clearer sooner. So that's what they're really for. Anyway, getting back to this advanced driving thing, don't know what to talk about really. Stopping distances. And why do I want to keep saying Accrington Stanley? Only people of a certain age will get that. There's a little arrow on the screen now to what I'm talking about. Yeah, stopping distances, that's another biggie. I find that now, today, people drive too fast and too close. I think they sort of a little cocooned in their super vehicles that are very agile, very fast. They feel very comfortable with heated seats, heating that works, within minutes of getting in the car. I mean, today it's -1 degree at the moment, and I left home this morning about an hour and a half ago. It was -2.5. So I got in, everything was freezing cold. So the first thing I did was got in, put my heated seat on, made sure the windscreen was clear inside and out before I pulled away. But I think people feel too safe in their cars now, and that's why they drive really close. So your stopping distances should be, in the dry, on a good road surface, it should be 2 seconds. Now, you may not have heard of the 2-second rule. It's very, very simple, and it applies to every single speed that you're doing. So what you do basically is you find a fixed point on the side of the road. So we'll look for one in a second. And I'm behind this HGV at the moment. Accrington Stanley, I keep saying it. So we'll find a fixed point in a minute. And basically the principle is that when the vehicle in front reaches that point, you count 2 seconds. Now I'd say 1 and 2 because that generally is about 2 seconds. So if we find a fixed point, and I start counting when that vehicle gets to it, if I've reached that same fixed point before I can finish my 2 seconds, I'm too close. Now that applies to dry conditions, good road surface, with a vehicle that's in good condition, with good tyres on it, tyre pressures are correct, because they're important as well when it comes to braking. If your tyre pressures are wrong, wheels can lock up a lot quicker, although not so much now with ABS, because that handles all that. But let's go for this 2-second thing. Let's try and find a fixed point somewhere. I'm looking for somewhere on the left that I can find. There isn't anything, there's just a hedge. Oh, that sign. So here we go. So the sign on the left. So here we go. Ready? So 1 and 2 and. So I'm outside the 2-second rule now, which is good. So basically what that means is that if that lorry suddenly just slams his brakes on, which he could do if something stops in front of him or an animal runs out or whatever reason, I've got a good chance of stopping. Now, the 2-second rule, as I say, applies to when the road's dry, visibility's good, road surface is good, your vehicle's good. If you've got a wet road, you should double that figure to 4 seconds. If you've got icy conditions where you've got, like this morning, for instance, it was -2.5 when I left. I was very aware that before the sun comes up, the road, you can see it glistening as well if it's got frost on it. And even if you've got frost on a road, that can cause you to skid, especially after you've had a long dry spell of weather where the rain and tyre action on that wet surface hasn't dispersed any grease and perhaps some spilt diesel on the surface. So it's very important when it's minus temperatures to look at the glistening on the surface of the road, because that will give you an indicator as to whether there's any ice or not. And so when you've got conditions like that, when you're driving on an icy road, you really want at least 4 to 6 seconds stopping distance. And you'll be surprised actually how short that distance is if you do need to anchor on. I've got some blue lights coming down behind me at the moment in an unmarked white Ford. God knows what that's about. He's going past, give him some space. That's probably a specialist officer in the fire service or ambulance service or whatever. Some potholes on the road. So I've now got a filter lane coming in from the left, so it means cars are going to be pulling over. So I've got a clear lane to my right to move into, so I'm going to do that. Still maintaining my 2 second stopping distance. It's a pain sometimes because when they come up these slip roads, I saw it yesterday morning. I was going down to Heathrow. I was joining the M1 at junction 14, I think it was, southbound. And there was a car in front of me and joining the M1 on the slip road. And I was looking over my shoulder, looking for the traffic to merge into. It was dark, and this guy just literally was doing nothing. And he got right to the end of the filter lane onto the M1 when he suddenly just literally swerved and threw his car into lane 1, right in front of a Luton Transit van, which had to swerve into lane 2. Now, thankfully, there was nothing in lane 2. But I thought if there had been, there'd have been an almighty collision there. You'd have had cars all over the place. So that's the thing with slip road. So with a slip road, it is the person joining's responsibility to join lane 1 properly and safely, because you know they're joining a flow of traffic that could be 60, 70 miles an hour. So it's their job, not yours, not the person in lane 1. It's not their job to slow down and let them in. Although if you are able to move across to the outside lane, then obviously do so to give them space. But they should, as they come down that slip road, be looking at what's coming, planning to merge with a space, adjusting their speed to merge with that space. It's their responsibility. So, okay, I want to talk to you now about journey times. You've probably noticed I've been sat in lane 1 for the duration of this video. I'm going down to Southampton Mayflower cruise terminal to pick up some passengers to take them back up to Cambridgeshire. So I now, whenever I do a journey, when I'm picking people up, I leave really, really early. And at the moment, I'm going to be 37 minutes early for my pickup. So the reason I do this is because I'm fed up with having to sit on motorways doing the maximum speed limit in amongst all the morons that are in the outside lane. Now, you've probably been onto a motorway, you've got 4-lane motorway, which the M1 and the M25 is mostly. And you'll see that the inside 2 lanes, when it's 4 lanes, the inside 2 lanes are completely empty a lot of the time. And everybody's jockeying for position in lane 3 and 4. Why on earth are people not moving across? And I find driving in those conditions really, really stressful. So to relieve my stress, I leave early and I just sit in lane 1 the whole way. In with it, like I'm doing now, in with the lorries. I'm currently doing 47 miles an hour. My cruise control is set at 56, but I'm just following this lorry, Accrington Stanley again. I've had a car come between us, but I'm relaxed. There's no stress, nothing's going on. Everybody's passing me. It's a 2-lane dual carriageway. This time of the morning, when everybody's going to work, you generally find that the driving standards are quite good because people are doing this journey every day, Monday to Friday, at the same time. So they generally know what time to leave, how long the journey's going to take. They almost know every pothole on the road. And that's another story, potholes. I've got another video on that if you want to have a search for it, about potholes. Quite interesting. And why the government will never properly repair potholes, because why would they spend money on potholes when they can actually make money from potholes? Now, if you wonder what I'm talking about with that. You're probably thinking he's talking nonsense. But go and have a look at the video and I'll explain why, how they make money from potholes. So, okay, coming again, I've got an off-slip now, which probably suggests there's an on-slip coming on at some stage. So again, there might be somebody drifting up that on-slip, wanting to join. So I'm going to be aware of, I might need to move. So basically, advanced driving is, you should think to yourself what you see, what it means, and what you're going to do about it. So I can now see there's an overbridge. So there is a junction. I'm going through a junction. So I'm preparing for an on-slip. So what I see, what it means, what I'm going to do about it. What I see is the on-slip. What it means is there's vehicles coming down that on-slip. I'm shoulder checking to my left now. There's a white car which is yielding, so I don't need to move over. He's going to slip in behind me. Quite close, actually. He's on my bumper, and he's now whipping past another Mercedes, and he's gone. So I didn't need to move over there, but I could. If I had to move over, I'd got a room to my left, which is effectively an escape route. And that's another thing you should always have in mind when you're driving, is where your escape route is. I used to work for the fire service in Shropshire, and I went to many accidents, head-on collisions on A roads, the A41, the A5, the A49, where I used to stand and look at them, carnage, and think, if only that car had have gone off onto the grass verge when the other car was overtaking and hit it head-on. So you must always have an escape route in mind. And as I say, journeys, just take your time, leave early, take even 5 minutes. Doesn't take much, and just sit and relax. You know, you have a massive responsibility to other road users when you're in your 2-ton plus vehicle, because that's what they weigh these days. They're bloody heavy things. And you know, I've seen with my work in the fire service that a vehicle can do far more damage than a bullet. Now, guns are outlawed, you know, but we drive our cars, you know, 2-ton projectiles at 70 odd miles an hour on motorways. And as I said before, I think people are, you know, completely disregard their responsibility to other road users. And they often drive their car like they're in a PlayStation game as well. So this lorry now ahead of me is slowing down quite a bit. I don't know what he's doing. We've just come up a bit of a slope. So I'm going to look to pass him when I can, but I've got vehicles passing me now. So I'm still going to maintain my 2-second distance, my 2-second gap. And I can now see ahead of me there's a downward slope. So as soon as this van's past me, I'm looking to see if anybody else is going to pop out behind me. They're not. So I'm now going to go out into that lane, still maintaining my 2-second gap, with a view to overtake the Accrington Stanley lorry. If you don't know what it means, Google it. If you go on to, it was an advert, wasn't it, forget what it's for now, but it was an advert for something where this little lad, he was talking about a football team, Accrington Stanley. So 61 miles an hour at the moment. I'm going to use the dip to gain the speed. I'm waiting for that Accrington Stanley lorry to maybe pop out. He's not going to, I don't think. So I'm now up to 70 miles an hour, passing with care, cruise control, now hitting the upslope. So expecting the lorries that I'm just passing to be closing down a little bit. I'm gaining on there's a car and a lorry in front of me, just passing those. That's the client ringing me, actually, that I'm picking up in a minute. So I'm just going to finish this video and carry on from there. Yeah, so that was the client ringing me to tell me that their disembarkation time has been brought forward a little bit. So they're going to be off the ship round about 10 o'clock, but I'm going to be there at 9:54. So I'm still early, which is good. So that's good news. So they're going to be happy because they can get off the ship and home earlier, and I'm going to be getting home earlier as well. So obviously I couldn't keep the video rolling while that phone call came in for confidentiality reasons. So that's the court case there. So anyway, back on the road now. I'm still in the outside lane doing 65 miles an hour. I've got a really low rising sun to my left, which this route now down to Southampton is pretty much a straight line. So I'm going to have that over to my left for the whole journey, basically. So I don't need to worry too much about sun in my eyes, but I've got my sun visors if I do. So I'm back up to cruise control at 70 miles an hour now. I've got a blue car behind that HGV in lane 1. And what sometimes happens with this, there you go, that's what I was just going to say. That blue car has probably just seen me in his mirror, in his peripheral vision. And then they see you approaching, especially when you've got daytime running lights on like I have. They sit behind the lorry for probably miles, and then they'll see my daytime running lights in their door mirror, and they'll go, oh, I better go. So they just pop out, and they don't actually build any speed. So I'm now down to 60 miles an hour, accelerating again past the car. So again, it's what you see, what it means, what you're going to do about it. And that was a classic example there of me seeing that blue car quite close to that lorry and just anticipating that he might pull out, which is what he did do. But he didn't really make me alter speed or direction. I had to slow down because he didn't accelerate as he did it. And that's another thing with advanced driving is generally you shouldn't make any other road user alter speed or direction. Now, that's not just car drivers, van drivers, lorry drivers, bus drivers. It's cyclists and pedestrians as well. So when you're in a built-up area, you've got to consider cyclists and pedestrians as well. So you should not, your actions when you're driving should not cause any other road user to alter speed or direction. So that's a basic rule to apply. So I'm approaching the 2-second rule again now. I'm going to move out to my right. I've done a door mirror check, indicated to let the lorry know in front of me that I'm going to do it. Still in cruise control at 70 miles an hour. Now, I'm not going to go back into that space between the lorry I've just passed and the lorry I'm about to pass because I'm going to have to move out again. So I'm going to stay in this outside lane. I'm doing the national speed limit anyway. I've got nobody behind me. There's a black van coming up fairly quickly towards me. So as soon as I pass this HGV, I'm going to leave enough space before I pull over to the left to give him a stopping distance if he needs it. And then as soon as I do that, the van will make its way through. So I can see the whole front of the lorry in my interior mirror now. So I'm going to move across. Now, I've just seen a sign for services. M4 Cheveley. So again, there's an off slip there. So again, I can probably assume there's going to be an on slip again in a minute. So the black van is passing me quite slowly. He's alongside me now, going to be coming past. I can see the 2 overbridges ahead of me, 3 overbridges actually ahead of me. So it's quite a big junction. And it is actually the junction with the M4. So because the M4's now he's gone into my stopping distance now. So I'm going to move out to lane 2. Safe to do so because he actually took my stopping distance from me there. And I'm going to have to pass the blue lorry anyway. But as I was saying, the M4 is a busy junction. So I'm expecting probably quite a few cars to be merging in a minute. So I'm now going to stay out in lane 2 because it's the M4 and it's a busy road. There's likely to be a lot of vehicles, HGVs joining, which I can see there are ahead of me. So I'm going to stay out in this lane. I've got nobody behind me. I'm still doing the maximum speed limit. I'm going to stay out and give them space to move over. But what they could also do, that black car that's just come down, he could go behind that lorry and then he could come out into my lane. He's actually going up the inside of the lorry, which is a bit risky because at this point, people are going to be getting themselves into the lanes that they need to be getting into. And that lorry could have quite easily just moved over on that black Mercedes, but he didn't, fortunately. So now I can see 2 signs ahead of me. I need to be in one of the 2 right-hand lanes. So I've now got the lorry in my interior mirror fully. I'm going to move back into lane 1 and filter off to the right. Now the road has gone fairly quiet now, actually. It's a good flow of traffic. I can see in the dip, I can see on the hill, there's a lorry, there's an HGV ahead of me with a Union Jack sign on the back that I'm going to be gaining on in a second. Now we're on an uphill slope again, so the lorry's going to slow down. I'm looking in my door mirror, shoulder check, there's nothing coming past me. So I'm going to move over in plenty of time. You don't need to get right up close behind that lorry to move over. Go over nice and early. And the other thing to do is always, always, always indicate when you're on a motorway or a dual carriageway where there are on slips and off slips. I might have mentioned in other videos where with advanced driving, you don't necessarily need to indicate. And the reason I say that is because in having to decide whether you need to indicate means that you have to be more observant. So you have to look at junctions and intersections. And if there's nobody going to benefit from your signal, then you don't need to do it. So in deciding that, it's making you more observant. But that changes when you're on a fast dual carriageway like this with a 70 mile an hour speed limit. And the reason that is because if I'm coming up to a junction now, and there's vehicles coming onto that junction, although I could be a long way back, as they're joining, if they indicate, it tells me from a distance away that they're coming onto the motorway. So I then know that there's a slip road ahead of me in case I've missed one of the signs. So that's always worth indicating when you're on motorways and dual carriageways. Now, I can see there's a slurry lorry, one of these gully cleaners, just joining the motorway ahead of me. He's come on, he's accelerating quite well, actually. I was concerned about that silver car that I've passed, that he might have seen it and decided to move out, but he hasn't. So we're okay at the moment. So I'm staying out in lane 2. Going to be passing this HGV in a minute. I'm on a left-hand bend. I can now see down into the dip. Looking at the traffic flow again, it's still very light. A little bit misty. It's not a fog, as I mentioned earlier. It's mist. Still the need for daytime running lights, certainly on the front, probably not rear lights on the back. And that's the other thing with fog lights. When people have their front fog lights on, they usually have their rear fog lights on as well. And again, the whole purpose of the rear fog lights is for you to be seen. Now, again, if the visibility is good, i.e. more than 100 meters, it's not fog, it's mist, and you do not need those rear lights on. But you might think to yourself, well, what's the harm in having them on? There's a big risk with that, actually, because not only are you dazzling the driver behind you, but also when you do hit your brakes, there's less of an effect of the extra bright lights, because you've got a lot of rear bright lights on the back of the car already. So the effect of your brake lights is being lessened. So that means that if you've got fog lights on, you shouldn't need them. Somebody could run into the back of you because they've not seen your brake lights. So just think about putting these fog lights on unless you really, really need to. And if you do know somebody that drives with fog lights on all through the winter, please send them a link to this video and maybe I can help them explain why they don't need to do it. So again, it's back onto the road again, so it's very quiet. Very good flow of traffic. I'm approaching an HGV again now. I've got a car passing me, staying in lane 1. Looking at the debris on the side of the road, there was a golfing trolley or something there on the left. And we do see so many tyres on the road now, and they are a real risk because the Highways Agency are just not picking them up. And I've seen them literally on the left-hand side there with, right on the white line, if you like. And all it needs is one of these HGVs like this one in front, just to be not concentrating, and he drifts across to the left a little bit, clips it with his tyres, and rubber being the material it is, the springiness of it, it will spring it back into the lane 1 or further onto the verge. But quite often they come back into the lane and then they're hit by numerous cars, causing lots of damage. I've got a real issue with National Highways, actually. I think they should be removing those, and I went into a conversation with them 6 or 8 months ago about the debris that's on the road, and they basically said to me that they've risk assessed it and it's too dangerous for them to send their workforce out on the road to stop vehicles to pick those up. And I said to them, well, okay, what about the risk to drivers? And they basically couldn't answer my question. They skirted round it. And I said, because you, like I, have got a duty of care to other road users. And they basically couldn't answer me. So, they're just not picking these things up. And I don't just see tyres, I see bumpers and headlight units on the side of the road where there's been collisions. And I've actually seen the Highways Agency traffic officers when there's been a collision. I saw one on the M25 about 6 months ago where there was a bump at Gerrard's Cross, where that bridge goes across the M25, quite an iconic bridge. and the traffic officers were literally just sweeping car parts onto the central reservation against the wall. And if you drive through there, you see lots of car parts. It's an accident black spot there. They should be picking those bits up, not just sweeping them along to one side. So there's a tyre on the left there, look, you see, massive great lorry tyre. It's disgusting, absolutely disgusting what's on the road these days. Another one on the left there, look. So I'm approaching this HGV, plenty of time to move over again, moving out to lane 2, indicator so he can see me also approaching from behind. Now there's a lorry coming down the slip road ahead of this lorry, but I think he's going to be making progress. I'm looking for anything behind it as well. Looking to my left over my shoulder, there's nothing coming down. Overtaking the lorry, who's gaining on the lorry in lane 1. He's staying in lane 1. So I'm going to stay out and pass the lorry in lane 2. Coming up to a sign, Winchester 21 Andover 19 Basingstoke 25. Road surface is good still. It was, as I say, it was cold. It's now 2 degrees outside, so I can assume that the road surface is good and dry and safe. And again, when you've got minus temperatures, you have frost on the road, and when you get the sun come on the road surface, it melts that frost quite quickly. But we've just come through a dip where it's in the shade still, so that tells me that while the main road surfaces that are in the sun could have thawed out and be just wet, you have to be aware that when you've got a road surface that's still in the shade, it could still be frozen, so just be very careful of that. So there's not a lot more to talk about on this road, I don't think. It's fairly straightforward, so I'm going to finish this video here. If you've got any comments to make about the video, anything I've said, or any pointers, or you need any advice, please put them in the comments below. Don't forget to click subscribe, and when you click subscribe, please press the bell button, because then you'll get alerted to other videos that I shoot. And I'm going to be doing loads, talking about advanced driving techniques and methods as I go on my daily journeys. So please, as I say, click like and subscribe, and share this video with anybody you think may benefit from my advice. And I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.